Hi everybody, I'm Heather Dawson. Welcome to California Life. We like to bring you the best in California on our show. So let's start with 5 Californians who have been honored as Heroes of the Heartland. Stater Brothers donated $5,000 to each award recipient's preferred charity for demonstrating exceptional service to their communities. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Jack Brown for our California Profiles feature and asked him about their ongoing charities.
We provide here at the company, through the Western Association of Food Chains, an organization we're in, we provide community college program that teaches 12 courses. So you take one night a week and you graduate from that, and we pay back your tuition and your books. And I'm pleased to tell you we're approaching 1,200 of our people have been through community college programs. And that's not just, I guess we put our money where our mouth is.
We'll have more on my interview with Jack Brown later on in the show. Well, we created a segment called Spotlight because we feel there's a lot of interesting places to visit in this beautiful state. In this week's Spotlight, Lisa Spalla takes us inside the most glamorous city in the world, Hollywood.
It's been called many things. Tinseltown, the home of the stars, America's movie capital, but there's nothing quite like it in the world. And tonight we're turning the spotlight as we welcome you to Hollywood.
Tinseltown's most famous landmark is the Hollywood sign. Built in 1923, it first read Hollywood Land. The image represents the universal symbol for success, glamour, and opportunity. However, in 1939, during the Great Depression, maintenance stopped on the sign. A decade passed before the Chamber of Commerce restored the landmark to read Hollywood.
I will say I think it was a little more collegial in the early days than today because all of the merchants lived here. Or the people that lived here, most of them were in the movie business. This is a pretty big community right now. It's alive, and the name Hollywood is still magic.
Just 1 year before the sign's big debut, the hills became alive with the sound of music.
A group of people who are music lovers discovered that this area, this canyon that we're in, had a natural acoustic that was very good for music.
The Hollywood Bowl opened its doors in 1922 and for over 70 years has been home to the LA Philharmonic. The outdoor amphitheater with its iconic dome has featured the biggest performers in the world, crossing all musical genres.
I think it's one of those places that anybody who plays here will tell you is, you know, you've sort of made it when you play the Hollywood Bowl.
Bring his light on Jupiter and Mars.
I've been coming to the Hollywood Bowl since I've come to Hollywood. It is part of Los Angeles. It's a cultural event. It is such a pleasure to come here in this setting and to hear the music and eat the food and have it all combined. It's a sensual, intellectual experience that can't be equaled anywhere else as far as I'm concerned.
And if it's good eats you're looking for, Yamashiro Restaurant is a must-do in Hollywood.
So give us an example of some of your signature dishes.
Well, the most popular dishes that go out are obviously the filet and the grilled seafood with lemongrass cream sauce. But the signature dishes, the dishes that I like is we have these barbecue ribs that are on the menu, and what it is basically we dry rub it, traditional American style dry rub, and we actually glaze it with I would like to call it a Korean style barbecue sauce, and it gives us kind of like a sweet spiciness to it. It's wonderful. Mashed sweet potatoes, and it's just to die for.
Hollywood went through a period there where not only did the tourists not come, but the stars didn't even want to come down here. And now, by heavens, we've got a long list that have already been approved, and we're going to be doing a lot of stars.
And on Hollywood Boulevard is the most famous movie house, the Grauman's Chinese Theater. Aligning the boulevard are the stars on the Walk of Fame. For nearly 30 years, the late honorary mayor of Hollywood, Johnny Grant, presented this honor to the likes of Gene Autry, Drew Barrymore, Ozzy Osbourne, and his very good pal, the late legendary Bob Hope.
Bob Hope used to call me You'd say, what do I have to do? Learn how to ride to get another star?
Across the street is Hollywood's most famous and haunted hotel, the Roosevelt, which was host to the very first Academy Awards in the Blossom Room in 1929.
Well, the Roosevelt is the hottest spot in town right now, and they have really done a great job of turning that hotel around.
And after more than 70 years, Oscar has found its way back home right here in Hollywood at the Kodak Theater.
The Hollywood and Highland Complex. You've got the Chinese Theater. You got everything right in there. It's a jumping place. It's kind of like going to Bethlehem. You know you're not going to see the original cast. And you're not going to see it here either, but you'll see where it took place.
Even smart teenagers often take stupid risks while driving, including speeding or sending text messages to friends. The problem, experts say, is that the teenage brain isn't fully ready to drive. Now that could start a debate. Here's more.
Eliza Harmon is a 17-year-old senior in high school. Last year, she and most of her friends got that traditional symbol of adulthood, their driver's licenses. So far, she's done pretty well, but some of her classmates haven't.
One of my friends was driving home from cheerleading practice one night, talking on the phone with her mom, and she was probably going 30 or so over the highway speed limit, and so she was pulled over and her license was taken away.
Whether it's driving 30 miles per hour too fast or trying to send text messages in city traffic, teens tend to do some pretty stupid things when they get behind the wheel. But researchers say that apparent stupidity probably has nothing to do with intelligence. It's a matter of brain development.
They do lots of risk-taking behaviors, whether it's in driving or drugs or sex or anything. There's a particular part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex that's responsible for planning and executive decision-making, which just isn't fully developed in teens and isn't completely developed until people are well into their 20s.
I tend not to text while I'm driving. If I'm going very slow or at a stoplight, I might do a quick text to a friend who's wondering where I am.
Teens are also more easily distracted, not just by cell phones and text messages, but by simpler things as well.
We know that kids, compared to adults, look away for much longer times when they change the radio.
One response to these findings about brain development is the growing number of states requiring graduated licenses or putting tougher restrictions on when and with whom teenagers can drive.
Up next on California Life, the movie The Changeling didn't win big at the Oscars, but the true story captivated audiences and even garnered actress Angelina Jolie an Oscar nomination. But the movie left out a compelling part of the true story. We went straight to the source, who happens to be a very important man in California. Stay tuned for my feature profile on Jack Brown and find out what role his family's story played in Clint Eastwood's movie The Changeling.